Let the mods begin, boys. All right, before we get started, I did do a few things on the Corvette before we get into all the exciting parts. So when I bought the car, it already had the scrape armor grill inserts, okay? So from the factory, the car just comes with these big old openings, okay? And then, you know, the radiators are right there, or the AC condensers are right there or whatever. And, you know, so this is an add-on. This is like the approved GM accessory part, okay? So it goes here, it goes on the other side. It's gonna be a little bit tight to see here, and it goes right there in the middle. The one thing I don't like, it doesn't go in this hole, okay? So I can stick my whole hand in here. This is for the brake cooler, but you could also get to the condensers, you know, I mean, from there. So that's kind of silly. I don't know why they didn't cover that. But the car came with this installed. I did, however, end up adding the accessory side ones. This is the scrape armor. Yes, it's kind of ridiculously expensive for what it is, but I figure since this is the GM approved part, you know what I mean, they can't say shit, you know what I mean, if something happens with the car. And then the other thing I did is that I did do the track PPF, so the whole front end, so the whole front end, fenders, bumper, hood, the A-pillars, the mirrors, the lower rockers, okay, and then this whole side rocker. It's all PPF, okay? We even tucked it in all the way in there before I put the little grills in there. So now the majority of the car is protected. We did the headlights as well. I did consider doing the windshield, but because I suffer from, I do get motion sickness and stuff like that, and I think it's mostly visual, I didn't want to have any distortions or anything like that. So for this time, I didn't do the windshield, okay? We'll see, hopefully in the C7, I ended up going through 2 windshields, so, you know, we'll see how it goes. But yeah, at least the car now is track ready. It's hard to see, you know, sometimes you can kind of see a little bit of something, you know what I mean, if you really look closely. But yeah, I had it on my C7 and I was very happy, man, because like I only redid it once in the 5.5 years that I had it. And when I peeled it off, the front end was almost mint. And on the interior, I did add, since this car is a base car, I did add the HomeLink sun visor. Sorry, I was having a brain fart, but yeah. So you could just buy this sun visor, okay? This is from an LT2. I think it was like 130 bucks or something like that, and it's plug and play. You do have to pull this down a little bit, and there's a connector in there. But yeah, so now I have HomeLink, you know what I mean? I programmed it and everything works normally. All right, now let's get into the cool stuff, starting with the nicest part. So this is a Sparco Evo L Performance, okay? So it's basically, it's the same shell, it's the same seat as an Evo L, okay? Evo L QRT, but it's just wrapped in leather and Alcantara, and it looks so nice. I almost did the QRTR, so in the Evo and in the Corvette, I have the QRTR, and the Corvette I have the red one. And with the QRTR, you can get the silver stitching, which would have matched perfectly with the OEM interior. But the reason why I wanted to try the Evo, and specifically the Evo L, is you get a little bit more room, just a tiny bit more room, okay? But also this shell has a little bit more lean back in the actual shell, okay? So it's not as you know, 90-degree kind of seating position, and it also is not cupped. The QRTR has a cup in there, so you kind of sit a little bit hunched over. And since I have a bad lower back, you know, I figured I'd give this a shot. I will be probably adding a little bit of foam in here for a lumbar support for the street, but it feels comfortable enough where I could probably take that off or track and get full support on this. But yeah, man, this is super nice. I went with the AMT mounts. This is just kind of mocked up. I'm not sure if that's where it's gonna be. But yeah, so this is definitely gonna save me a bunch of weight over the stock seat. However, because I am adding, you know, the harness bar and the harness and stuff like that, I don't know. I'll have to weigh it. We'll see how much the stock seat weighs. And I am keeping the stock seat built, okay? And that's what this guy is about. So I am gonna use this to be able to keep the 3-point for street driving, okay? Or maybe if I can keep that guy, I just don't know, because this doesn't have, you know, this doesn't have like a pocket, you know what I mean, for like a street seat would do. So in my C7, I had it like this, okay, where this guy's flexible and it just kind of fits through here, okay? So that's the plan. We'll see how that works. But anyways, tangent. We'll see how much this seat weighs, okay, and then how much the combination of the seat, the harness, and the harness bar combined weighs, and see if I ended up actually losing or even gaining some weight. So for the harness bar, I ended up going with the Paragon Performance harness bar, okay? Honestly, it just seems to be the most reasonably priced. There are other ones that so this is the type of bar that goes through the middle console, okay? So you do have to do some notches in the middle console and then on the sides. I'll show you guys that later. But there's other ones that have the same design and they cost like $300 more. And then other ones that kind of go over this, but I don't see what the point of it is. So anyways, honestly, this looked the best. It has these things to hold the harness in place, and it was reasonably priced, and I was able to get it in black. For the harness, I'm gonna go with another OMP. I like my OMP harnesses. This is not the actual harness that I thought I was gonna get. I thought I was gonna get a OMP 2.1, but this one was on sale. It's still gonna work just fine, okay? Just, yeah, it's just a 6-point harness, 2-inch, whatever. I also picked this up from Paragon. So the idea is I'm gonna install this over the seat base, okay? And I'm gonna either run my element. I do have an element of these in each one of my cars. So I can either mount the element there, or I've had this Safecraft bottle laying around for a long time, but this is kind of heavy and clunky, and yeah, I don't know. So the element is probably was gonna end up going there. And then for brakes, I ended up going with the Gyrodisc GP40s. I did wanna go with the endless pads, and they do have the front shape, okay? But the rear shape is like not in stock, and not even Endless Japan has it in stock. So they quoted me 11 weeks for Endless Japan to manufacture, and could be another 4 or 5 weeks for me to get them from there. So yeah, that was a long time. So, because I'm not 100% sure on the brakes of the car, I'm not saying I'm gonna go like straight to AP, but I don't want to invest like a ton of money initially on the brakes, but I haven't even really tried them, myself. I haven't really pushed them. And when I drove Rafi's car, this is the pads that he had, and honestly, they perform well. You know what I mean? I didn't feel that I needed any more brake performance. So yeah, so GP40s, again, these are not like super high bite pads, but they're supposed to be a little bit less kind of bitey. But we are gonna go with the Endless RF650. I am moving away from, I've been running the AP R3, but since I've been on this Endless kick, you know what I mean, I kind of wanted to try this. Supposedly you can leave this year round, so that's another reason why I wanted to try it. Kind of similar to the Castrol, but this has a higher dry boiling point and supposedly better pedal feel. I don't like the pedal feel of Castrol SRF. Don't ask me and don't comment about hydraulic and whether or not that can affect brake pedal feel. I don't know anything about that, but I do know that I have installed different brake fluids and the pedal does feel differently. Now, we know this car has the stupid electronic boosters. You're probably not gonna feel the difference. Anyways, I just wanted to try the fluid, guys, okay? Leave me alone. Okay, for science purposes, I have my bathroom scale here. So let's see, I weigh right now 174.8. So now let's see, holding all this, what do I weigh? Yeah, that's gonna be tricky. Can I even see it? 221.6. So it looks like this whole deal weighs 46.8 pounds, which is honestly quite a bit less than what I thought. So I'm gonna guess that I am gonna end up losing some weight. I'm gonna guess that chair is at least 55 pounds, maybe 50 pounds, because it is a base chair. It doesn't have lumbar, it doesn't have vent, it doesn't have heater or anything like that. So maybe 50 pounds. And if that's the case, I'm still losing, 3 pounds and change, even though I added this big ass bar, this big ass harness, all these bolts. I do have everything here. So I have all the hardware required to mount this, the fire extinguisher, the brackets, the harness. I have all the harness clips. I have my little added on thingy. I may have to add some bolts and stuff like that. So yeah, call it, well, we'll see. Let's see what that one weighs and we'll do the final math from there. But it does look like we're gonna lose a little bit of weight. I want to show you guys this because I know some of the CA guys are gonna be curious about this eventually. So, this is the stock you know, lap belt assembly. And as you can see, it's like attached to this thing, and there's like a plastic cover and some kind of flexible thing. So if you pop this with a little plastic tool, I like to do it from the back so you don't see it later. You just kind of have to pop it. Of course, the other side pop right away. There we go. So what you're gonna see here is, this is a little tiny screw here. Okay, it's like a 10mm screw. So really, this screw is not what's holding this assembly together. So the reason why I'm showing you this is because I did the same thing in my C7, and this is the same type of assembly. So I kind of already know what I'm gonna do. And I'm gonna show you guys how I do it. It doesn't mean that it's the safest way to do it or I recommend you to do it. That's just how I ended up doing it. So you see here, you have this crazy kind of hook, then you have this T. So that's that assembly, this and this together. This hook is actually what holds that in place. The screw is just kind of, you know what I mean, a locator. So I'm gonna show you guys what I ended up doing, but basically what, you know, I'm gonna give you the gist of it now. I ended up enlarging this hole, okay, so that I can put a standard 7/16 bolt. The 7/16 is what's used standard on seat belts and stuff like that. Grade 8.8 or greater, okay? And then I bolt it onto the AMT, okay? I've seen guys that take this thing out. This is attached at the bottom here to the explosive assembly, okay? So if your airbag goes off, the pre-tensioner is actually a long tube. It's inside of this plastic cover. I didn't find a good way to attach this to the AMT mount. So this is definitely doing it the way I'm gonna show you. It's a compromise, okay? I'm not saying that it's the safest way, okay? But it is a way that you can run the 3-point and be somewhat, you know what I mean, somewhat okay, somewhat at least be legal. I think that this is safer than running the 6-point on the street. All right, so I changed and I ate, so let me weigh myself again. 177. Let's grab this bad boy. So much for a bad lower back. Yo. This is definitely a heavy guy. 236.2. All right, so the base seat weighs 59.2 pounds, give or take. Obviously, I'm using my super scientific scale here, but 59.2 pounds. The original assembly, this guy with all the stuff with the bar, all the bolts, everything that I'm adding, weighed 46.8 pounds. So we got a difference of 12.4 pounds. This I did it twice, so it's very, very close. But yeah, so 12.4 pounds. Hey man, I'll take it. You know what I mean? At least I didn't gain weight. I thought I was gonna gain weight with all this stuff, but man, those chairs are super, super heavy. All right, so I got everything set up. I got the bar installed. The instructions from Paragon are really, really good. Okay, so just follow, if you're curious as to how the install for this goes, just follow those instructions. The only thing that I will say is the template for this piece, it's a little bit overzealous on the cut. This is a little bit big. I can fit my whole finger in there. So you can cut this by like 1/2 inch less in depth. Okay, so like where this round hole is, come in a 1/2 inch. Okay. So that will be my only complaint. So I will be on the lookout for this. I think this is a pretty cheap piece, but honestly, once the seats are installed, you can't tell. The cutouts over here are really good. They give you really good instructions, guys. So just follow those, okay? So anyways, I got my harness. I got my little fire extinguisher bracket set up, and I was able to mount the cabling for here. Unfortunately, this thing is just gonna be kind of here, okay? And then, so this is what I was telling you. So I just drilled this out to 7/16. Okay, I won't be able to show you right now, but once I get the seat mounted, I'll show you how that goes. And then one thing that I will mention is there's like this little stud here, okay? If you're gonna have harnesses and stuff like that laying back here, which when they're not in use, I just chuck them in the back of the seat. You don't want that to be chafing, you know what I mean, to be digging into the harnesses and stuff like that. So I just put a little rubber cap on there, okay? So just a little tidbit. So anyways, here's the chair all set up. I already fitted it like bazillion times. I got my harnesses kind of set up. So this is kind of how I do this side, okay? So I drill this out with a 7/16 hole all the way through. Is grabbing both brackets. So it's grabbing this bracket and this bracket, okay? And I added up some more washers and stuff like that. My little seatbelt buckle is sandwiched in between there. I got a lock washer, stuff like that. So this is, Mark from AMT tells you not to attach them to here. But in these Corvettes, the only other option that you would have would be to attach to the studs. And there is a bracket that you can get from Shro. I don't know where it is. Oh, here it is. They do sell like a bracket like this, okay, that you could bend, and you could, I guess, mount it underneath this, but I don't know, then that's pulling on everything, and if that comes up, the seat comes up, so I don't know. So he's shown that, you know, this is strong enough. You know, he's shown one that he had an accident and this little twisted a little bit, but this held. So I'm confident enough that to run this like this. This is how I had it on the C7. And then on the other side is going to be something similar. So here's the hole. And as you can see, it goes through and through, okay? And then I use one of these long 1 3/4 inch eye bolts. That's going to go here. Okay, and then in here, there's going to be the stock buckle, and then you need to use a spacer, like 1/4 inch spacer or 5/16 spacer, to take up this space here. Okay, oh, I got to squish this a little bit, but anyways, that's going to go in there. Okay, you get the idea. So that way, you'll see. Let me put this all in together, and then I'll show you how it ends up being. All right, I got everything set up. So track mode, pretty simple. The little buckle just kind of sits over here on the side. You don't even feel it. So then I got all my belts somewhat adjusted. I'll have to see once I have the my head and neck restraint installed. But I think it's close. It's close enough. I think I'm pretty good. There we go. Yep, nice and comfortable, very stiff. Definitely doesn't have all that jiggly of the stock seat. And I got the steering wheel all the way in and all the way up, so this will be nice and close. My legs are nice and comfortable. Yeah, honestly, I really like the seat. I think this fits the car. You know, I wish I had the stitching, okay, but it is more comfortable than the QRTR. Again, the QRTR has like a you kind of sit hunched over. It has like a cup back there, you know. So, and then here, I'm comfortable enough for the track, and then for the street, if I need to, I could put a little bit of that foam, which I'll show you guys, and then that'll make me more comfortable. So now let me show you the stock seat belt setup like you would run out on the street. All right, so now for the street, you know, you just put everything away. That's why I was saying that it's important to cover that little stud back there, because I just put my harnesses back there, so you don't want stuff to get chafed. But yeah, so this is the setup. It's gonna be a little bit difficult to see. It's, you know, because you have to do this once you, at the same time as you're installing the seat, because, you know, you gotta route this stock seat belt through this loop. Now, you know, when it's just sitting there, it does crunch up, okay? But once you install it, it's at the correct angle over your hip, okay? And then this, even though this seat doesn't have like a space for a seatbelt buckle, because this is a little bit, you know, flexible and stuff like that, it just kind of sits over your hip like this. So it all does work out. So anyways, I have that long eye bolt, okay? I got my spacer. I ended up using a thin bolt and a washer, okay? And that ended up working a little bit better. And then a big washer in the back and a lock nut. So yeah, pretty simple. All right, let's see how bad this is gonna be. Actually, not bad at all. Yeah, that wasn't that bad. It's actually a little bit hard to get out with the stock seat, and I got the steering wheel all the way out as well. I don't think it's all the way down. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. All right, let's go for a ride. All right, guys. Well, so far, I really like the decision of going with the Evo L, man. I really like it. I think it's really comfortable for a track seat. Obviously not as cushy as the stock seat, okay, but not bad, man. Even for somebody like me that has, you know, lower back injuries and stuff, it's fine. I feel like I could do a road trip on this and be okay. And right now I don't have the added cushions for the lumbar support. I'll show you guys that before I end the video, but I didn't add them yet. I just wanted to see how it felt, and yeah, so far really comfortable, you know. Again, not cushy, but not bad. Definitely feel way more connected to the car. I feel a lot more of what the chassis is doing and the suspension and bumps and stuff like that. feel it a lot more, coming, through my butt, through my body and stuff like that. So very happy that I accomplished that goal. I had a feeling that a lot of that numbness that I felt in the car and in Rafi's car when I tested that on track was probably the seats. Those things were just like sofas. So yeah, definitely part of it is that. I think part of it is also the tires. In the car itself, different suspension. But anyways, yeah, it definitely moved things towards what I wanted to, which is, more connectedness, feeling more of what the chassis is doing. I have good amount of room here. I guess I should clarify that I'm 5'9", average 175 pounds. And I wear in between like a 33 and 34 pant size. I think in this Evo L, you can probably fit up to a 36 pant size or waist size comfortably. I think beyond that, it's going to be pretty snug. But I have a good amount of headroom here, so helmet's not going to be an issue, okay? I got a good amount of leg rooms. I'm at the right height. I'm not super, super, super low where I can't see anything and my elbows are hitting here. And I am obviously not super high. So that is a good, that's all good when it comes to sitting position and everything. Yeah, this feels way better. Way better. All right, let's take this twisty here. Oh yeah, way better. I'm not sliding all over the place. Oh yes. Money. Exactly what this car needed. Alright, I gotta chill. Okay, yeah, that was really nice, man. That was a nice tight turn there at high speed. I felt really connected to the car. I felt really planted. I'm not wearing my six point. I'm just on my 3 point, obviously, you know what I mean? But I'm not sliding all over the place. I'm not having to hold the steering wheel really hard or brace my knees or anything. I can just be, relaxed and just focus at the task of driving, you know what I mean? And I think that's a huge thing for any of you guys that don't have a lot of experience or you have not experienced, any of these cars with the race seat, man. You're really missing out. It transforms the driving experience. You don't realize how much energy and how much effort, mental and physical, goes into bracing yourself, holding yourself, thinking about, your body weight and what it's doing and stuff like that. Having a seat will make you faster just because you'll be able to focus more at the task of driving. Once you get used to it and once you relax, once you allow the harness and the seat just to hold you and you allow your body to be moved by, gravity and the forces, you get a much better sense of everything that's happening, what the chassis is doing, there's all these things talking to you, you just don't know because you just focus on other things, you know what I mean? But there's things there in the background that you are missing out on, you know what I mean? And a seat is a simple modification. It's completely, you can undo it. It doesn't permanently change the car, anything like that. But I'm telling you guys, try it out. And especially now there's seats like this, really nice seats that fit the car, This doesn't look like, like one of those cheap, it's not that expensive, but it's not like those velour type of seats, This looks proper, It's got leather, it's got Alcantara. This leather is nicer than the stock leather, so it's a really nice seat. It really fits the car. Now for the electronics, I know a lot of guys are worried about the electronics and stuff like that. Now my car is a base car, it's a 1LZ, so I don't have blind spot monitoring, I don't have seat memory, so I don't have any issues with the electronics of the car, okay? my mirrors work. I can still use my power mirrors. I have heard on the C7s, and I'm sure it is like that on the C8s, that if you have seat memory and blind spot monitoring and stuff like that, those systems may not work once you disconnect the seat or seats, okay? So just keep that in mind. In my experience, if you have a base model, really the only thing that happens is you get a warning at the beginning of when you first start the car on. You get a safety restraint system warning. You click OK and it goes away. There's a permanent little airbag light on, okay? And then for now, I just put a little piece of electrical tape, a little piece of black tape. Somebody did eventually come out and figure out a solution with resistors and stuff like that for the C7s. So in my C7 before I sold it, I did have that fix. I had no lights, no issues or anything like that. Hoping that somebody that's smarter than me with electronics and stuff like that eventually figures it out. But honestly, it's not bad. It's not like the car is constantly crying at you. You're not hearing any warnings or anything like that. You put a little piece of tape on the side bezel. It's not even on the main screen. It's on the little side. It's got like these little side pods. And dude, just put a piece of tape on it. It's good. All right, guys. On the next episode, we're gonna continue the modifications on the C8Z and hopefully lose a little bit more weight in this fat girl. Peace out, guys.